of Kenya presentation, and we will like everybody when Sarah starts presenting to mute yourself. Please write any questions that you may have in the chat. Uppercase letters is easier to read for us. You know, our eyes are getting a little tired. And we have been up since like 5 o'clock in the morning or something like that for the first session. So again, thank you for signing up and coming to listen to Sarah's presentation. And after her presentation, there will be time for questions and answers. And after that, we will break into small groups, and we have the chance to connect with those of us who we don't know each other, although the computer doesn't know who we are. So usually puts all the committee members together. So it does happen more frequently. So anyway, thank you, Siva, for sending all the notices. Siva is our administrator, for those of you who may not know. Simi is our program coordinator in the committee. Sarah, who's in the center today, she's also a committee member. And I am at this time your membership chair and a coordinator with Simi of the virtual programs. So we're always looking for speakers, so you also can offer and we can discuss with you the opportunity to talk to us from some of your experiences in the past or the country you're living in. So with that, I give it to Simi.
Well, welcome everybody. I mean, this is great to see so many people here. So we have presenting today Magical Kenya. Sarah is Sarah Kino, who's from committee member from Kenya, is very passionate about her country, and it's beautiful country. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Sarah to introduce herself and then start the presentation. Over to you, Sarah.
Thank you, Simi. Please let me know if you can hear me well.
Yes, we can, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. It's good to see familiar faces, many familiar faces. So my name is Sarah Keno. I'm a past president of Rotary Club of Nairobi North. Our district is 9212 in Kenya. Our district is made of 3 countries, that is Kenya, Ethiopia, and South Sudan. So I've been in Rotary for about 15 years or so, but half of that was in Rotaract. So I'm quite a passionate Rotarian and Rotaractor. So I'll go straight into the presentation. I know majority of us have visited Kenya, but then most people just come to Kenya for safaris. But I hope that by the end of this presentation, you will want to come back and experience something different about my country. So allow me to share my screen. I hope I should be able to share. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Can you please mute yourself if you're not the speaker? Thank you.
Thank you, Lydia. So I'll go straight into it, and I mean, there's a lot to say and to see about Kenya that I think half an hour will not do justice, but I'll just try and touch a few things that may probably encourage some of us to visit, and especially for those who've not been in Kenya before. So I'll just talk a bit about some of the facts about my country. Probably some you're aware, some you may not be, just like any other country. We also have our uniqueness. What is Kenya known for, that we are famous for, and things to do other than just the normal usual safari that most tourists do. There's quite a lot to experience in this country. And then more importantly is, when would you plan to come to visit Kenya? experience some of these adventures. And then how do you get around? And last but not least is to just highlight something about security in Kenya's security status, especially, you know, it keeps changing quite frequently. Every month something new is coming in terms of what are the hotspots and what are the risks when you're traveling across the country. So let's dive deep into it.
Excuse me, Sarah. Could you speak a little louder? Your voice is quiet.
Okay, just give me a minute. Let me just sort that out. 1 second. Because my audio is, my volume is full. Okay. Is it any better now?
Yes, much better.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. I think I've tried to increase my volume to the maximum. Okay, great. So some facts about Kenya, just key highlights. On the right is our national flag, which for me, it's the most beautiful flag in the world. It has some key themes of what the flag means. Black means our color, red means the blood we shed during the fight for freedom, and for us, green means our agriculture backbone, where we are good at coffee and tea, and the shields are actually the protector. Our languages are English and Swahili. We speak English, British English, because we were colonized by the British. Our population right now is going to around 53 million. And our currency, we use Kenya shillings. The conversion rate right now is between 139, 140 Kenya shillings to a dollar. And it has really been fluctuating in the recent past. It has been depreciating in the recent past, but it's now going back to its average rate, which was around 110 to 120. We have democratic administration, and we changed our constitution in 2008, and now we have counties that are individually administered. And our religious, majority of our religion in Kenya are actually Christians. We also do have a significant population of Muslims, mainly because we are bordered by most of the Muslim countries. Around 10% now, they're approaching even probably slightly more than that. And the others are just a mix of Hindu. We have a huge population of Hindus as well. Then across the country, we have more than 40 ethnic groups. I think right now there are around 43 that are recognized. So these 43 actually come with different cultures, different diversity, different ways of doing things, all the way from food. So that's why Kenya is really rich in diversity. We do have 3 recognized cities right now, which is Mombasa, Nairobi, and Kisumu. But there are 2 that are earmarked to be upgraded to a city status in the next couple of years. Actually, one is already at its tail end. And then where is Kenya on the map? When you think about it, it's actually on the eastern part of the world. So we are bordered by Somalia, Ethiopia, Uganda, and we are part of the East African communities, which is quite a strong both political and economic. It's actually one of those strong entities that we are a member of, and we are proud of that. And most of those East African communities actually speak Swahili across. So what is Kenya known for? What is Kenya known for that is unique, other than the safaris and all? I think for us, the topmost thing that we are proud of is our athletics. In all the major races globally, they say what they call them, big 5 marathons in the world. We actually dominate those. And the most interesting about this, the runners who actually run these races and win most of the time, is that they come from one community. the Kalenjins, and there's been a lot of studies as to why this specific community actually are very good in long distance running, but I don't think anybody has been able to solve that mystery. So we are proud of that. When they are the Olympics and the marathons, we know for sure we will do very well. The All African Games is currently going on in Ghana, and for the last 2 weeks we've not won any medal, but from this weekend we are winning big because now they are at the long track athletics. So we're just waiting for them to start athletics so that we start celebrating. Of course, we do have the safaris. In addition to the parks, we also have very beautiful beaches. And if you've come to Kenya and gone to a safari and not gone to the coast, you've missed out on a big part of a beautiful Kenya. Then you have every reason to come back. Like I said, we have more than 41 ethnic groups, so that brings in the diversity of our culture is, I think, one of the richest across Africa. We are the pioneers of actually mobile money, where in Kenya right now, the only thing that people move around with is just their phone. They don't even need, you don't need your wallet, you don't need your cards, credit cards, your credit card, your debit cards. You just need your phone and you're good to go. You can transact anywhere, anytime. You don't even need to carry any money at all. Even in public transport, you just pay with your mobile money. It's quite convenient and it's working. It's actually our mobile money is driving our economy. We have a national park within the city, just like 10 minutes drive. You're in the park. You can see all the big animals, the common animals that you can see, from giraffes to a lion to whatever. And it's just within the vicinity of the city, which that is quite unique. So if you don't have time, like if you're transiting through Nairobi and you don't have time and you just want to see some animals, that is the best opportunity because you don't have to drive too far. And going into the park, it's recommended to go very early in the morning. So if someone has an overnight and they're transitioning, they can wake up in the morning, go into the park for 2 hours, they catch their flight back home, and they will have had some really good experience. So overall, what are the things to do in Kenya? Of course, there's the normal wildlife and the safaris, but then the other things are really, Kenya has a lot of opportunities for a great adventure, both outdoors and indoors, as well as the rich cultural experiences. And most people actually experience that culture just when they go to the park and they meet the communities in the park, but there is a lot more out there that you can actually, there are other opportunities that you can experience a different heritage in Kenya. So some of the adventures that you can actually experience in Kenya is we have a lot of water sports because we have we have the ocean, and we do have rivers where we do water rafting and all that. So all the water sports you can think about, you can experience that. We have our golf courses are really beautiful, and we have actually international recognized golf tournaments. And then of the big safari rallies, the rallies that have actually world rally, on the world rally calendar, actually Kenya is one of those that hosts the safari rally, and it's coming up this weekend over Easter, and everybody's really excited about it. All Kenyans actually go to just line up on the roads to just watch the rallies and cheer for their favorite drivers. The other activities you can do is mountain climbing. You can do bungee jumping, zip lining, and rock climbing. You can do mountain climbing, not just the biggest mountain in Africa, which is just the border, but you can also we do have Mount Kenya as well, which is quite high, and very, very many other small mountains that you can actually experience just even on a weekend. You can go to climb one. I think 2 weeks ago, as last weekend, I went back to Mount Kenya. I love Mount Kenya because it's so beautiful. And it's really beautiful. And then about culture. So for our culture, when you
want to hear this or not? Kenya.
Hello. Is someone asking something? Okay, I'll continue. I'll assume that they're not muted. So when it comes to our culture and heritage, without going into the details, like I said, we have more than 40 plus cultural or ethnic groups. So our food is as diverse as those 40 plus ethnic groups. We have a lot of festivals. This is one area that I don't think my government has done very well in marketing. We have very beautiful festivals that happen throughout the year that many people miss to actually experience that. We have bullfighting in Western Kenya, where during the circumcision of boys, they do a lot of those. We have Camel Derby in Samburu, and many others that are so beautiful to just be part of it. We have great museums because of our history. Our museums is very well stocked. And you can learn quite a lot of what's going on in those spaces. Our food is amazing. I think for me, I think every time I travel, I still think that our food is good because it's as diverse as our 40 plus. So when you go to the coast, you'll experience a different type of food, like biryani. If you go to the Western, they have their own unique way of cooking things. So really, that forms part of who we are. And depending on which tribe you are, then some of us grew up knowing how to make our traditional food. Like in my culture, we have this famous drink milk that you make in a gourd, that it's put beads around it, and some of us were taught how to make it when we were young and know how to do that. Unfortunately, those cultures are now dying because of intermarriages, and a lot of people are now moving into the cities and forgetting some of these ways of doing things. Our wildlife, I will not dwell much on this because I think this is the most famous thing about our country. So many people know about our wildlife. And when people want to travel to Kenya, the first thing they search is, the national parks, which ones to go to. But other than that, we also have game reserves. We have marine parks. We have the most beautiful beaches all the way from Diani to Mombasa to Lamu. We have islands that you can actually experience, go watch dolphins. It's not only in the northern part of the world that we have dolphins. We also have dolphins right by our oceans here in Kenya. So it's and then there's a lot in terms of there are so many national parks. There's quite a lot to see. So sometimes it's very confusing when someone wants to visit Kenya, which ones are the best, which ones are not the best, which time of the month or the year should I go? So this is just a summary of, if you want to come and experience our wildlife, this is a summary of when you can come. Like an example, if you want to go to Amboseli to see, Amboseli is one of the parks that has the largest herds of elephants. It's also one of the parks that is just at the base of Mount Kilimanjaro. So you really get to get that experience. If you notice, most of our parks are actually best visited during media, and media because it's a rainy season. So the weather is also favorable. And the animals, you can see more animals at that time, because then when it's dry, the animals either hide or they migrate. So it's very hard to find them. So because of the very many number of parks, then it's just upon you to pick which one is the best. Some of them can be experienced in a short while. Some of them are too far and too remote that you really need a lot of time to transition into them unless you're flying into them. Or like Masai Mara, you can fly, but then when it comes to Samburu, then Samburu, the airlines going there are not so reliable. Yeah, so this is just a summary of when you can visit. But by and large, you can do it between July and September, and you can experience probably 3 or 4 of these, depending on what you want to see as well. So what about how to move around? We do have, of course, our national carrier, which is Kenya Airways. But however, within the country, in between the cities, we also have local budget-friendly airlines that you can move around with. Between the major cities, they are there. We also have trains, especially between Nairobi and the next biggest city, which is Mombasa. on the train does. They're not very efficient, but at least they leave 3 times in a day, and you can hop onto that train. There is a night train. There are 2 during the day. And you can also use public transport, which for us within the city and the biggest cities, the 3 biggest cities, the public transport is quite vibrant and colorful, and it's part of why we makes the city really colorful and comes alive. So you can book either, especially the airlines, you can book them online. So are the trains, but for the public transport, of course, those ones you just hop on and off as you move around. So last but not least, the security. So in terms of security, actually, unfortunately, I don't know, I think that is the sad part of it, is that we are surrounded by conflict countries, unfortunately, and those, Kenya actually takes the hit in terms of, we have a lot of insecure guns and all that moving across the borders and countries. So we have terrorism. Terrorism for us is one of those that is really giving everybody an edge every day. So we have Al-Shabaab terrorizing people in the northern region all the time. As late as last week, we have attacks where IEDs are just put on the road and it blows up either security vehicles or even civilian vehicles. And it's almost become such a frequent occurrence that people don't see that it's a problem anymore, unfortunately. So the government concentrates on trying to, have security escorts for their vehicles, for the public going into those spaces. But that is one headache that our government has not been able to get rid of. The Al-Shabaab, they're quite frequent in the northern areas. We also have cattle wrestling, where the communities up north, because of the dry element of it, it's also part of their culture, apparently. Just steal cows and cattle from one community to another. Sometimes they fight, sometimes they make up. I mean, it's a whole drama. And because of the water holes, that also is, sometimes they're really fighting for those water holes. Sometimes it explodes into serious border tribal clashes in between those communities, and sometimes it goes out of hand. Like 2 years ago, we had a nasty experience where there were 2 communities that really were fighting over some spaces. So unfortunately, I think for us in those spaces, especially the northern region, so that is categorized as high risk in terms of security. But the cities are categorized as medium, and the cities you will definitely find all sorts of insecurity issues like any other major city. Your drinks being spiked or being mugged when you're walking around. There are a lot of burglaries, but those are just the normal city problems. We used to have terrorism in cities, but now for the last couple of years, that has not happened. We've had major terrorist incidences, including a US embassy being bombed a couple of years ago, and a recent one, shooting in a mall, and then another one in a hotel. So it's unfortunate, but we thank God, but for the last couple of years, it has not happened. The other parts of Kenya are actually pretty safe. When you think about Western Kenya, the Rift Valley, the normal crime just happened, but so we categorize them as very low risk because there are no extremes like terrorism and all that. Those people just go on their lives, but then the normal things, people stealing, coming into your house to steal the normal goods and all that. It's really minimal, and that's why within the Kenyan security map we categorize Central and Rift Valley as low risk in terms of security. But all eyes are definitely in the northern part of Kenya, where the security is very volatile. Well, in my organization that I work for, we actually have presence in the northern region, and that is one of the things that give us a headache every single day. How do we secure the movement of our goods to those spaces when we are transporting items, for relief items for the refugees up there? It's it's very expensive because you have to hire a lot of security escorts to up north. So that is more or less a summary. I know there's a lot more that I would have wanted to discuss, but because of time, I'll stop there. I think I would rather take specific questions that so that I'm able to address any of your queries that you have about my beautiful country. I say beautiful because it is indeed beautiful. And I haven't done justice to just describe and explain more about Kenya, but I hope that for those of you who've not been to Kenya, you'll be able to experience it sometime soon. So I'll stop there and take it back to Lydia or Simi, and we can address questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. We do have a few questions in the chat. So if you want to stop sharing,
Sure, I can do that.
I can read them out. Okay, so the first one is, I've lost my chat. Hang on. Okay, what tribe was the one that was pictured?
Let me just share my screen and just go back there. Is that the photo, I believe? Yeah, so this is Maasai. This is the most colorful tribe. These are Maasai and Samburu. On the left is Samburu, on the right is Maasai men. On the left is a Samburu lady actually in Samburu National Park, within the vicinity of Samburu National Park. So those are two different tribes, but they almost have very close cultural and similar ways of doing things, like the beading they do in both communities, but they also have their own language. They speak different languages. Yeah, so that is Maasai and Samburu. Thank you.
Just as a tag on before I go to the next question, because it's tied to the tribes, what's the significance of their jumping?
So the jumping is done in two ceremonies. Some of them is they do it at the point of when they have visitors. So it's a celebration. They have visitors. They're celebrating over something, or maybe it's a wedding, or it's an engagement party. So it's a celebration. The men do that. The other one, the significance of the other one when they do jump is when the boys have been circumcised. So when the boys get circumcised during that circumcision period, after that, now they celebrate by jumping up, and they're the ones who are going they're the ones who've been trained to jump. So they'll see whoever jumps. They want to see who is going to jump the highest, I guess. Yeah, so they do that during those two occasions. Yeah. Okay,
thank you. The next question is, which is closer to Mount Kilimanjaro, Nairobi or Mombasa? And also,
Nairobi.
Nairobi. Is it possible to trek to Kilimanjaro from either of those two cities?
No, you have to go to Moshi. You have to cross the border because the main gate to enter Kilimanjaro is only on the Tanzanian side. So you have to cross the border, go to Tanzania, which is just an hour's drive from the border. And then you have to check in there, whether you're using the right side of the mountain or the left side of the mountain. You cannot access the mountain from the Kenyan side. You have to go across. So getting into Moshi, the easiest and the nearest is from Nairobi. Yeah.
Thank you. What's the next question is, how close is Victoria Falls?
Oh no, that's another country, another two countries down the road, which is Victoria is between Zimbabwe and Zambia. So you have to go past Tanzania, then you get to Victoria Falls. So it's not in Kenya, but it's shared between Zambia and Zimbabwe. Yeah. But it's very near from Kenya. It's actually just a 3-hour flight from Kenya, yeah, to get to Livingstone Airport. Yeah.
Thank you. Then from Kimberly, the question is, where does your club meet and when? She'll be in Nairobi in June and then for the entire month of August.
Great. So my club meets on Wednesday and we meet outside the city, just a few meters from the city in a club called United Kenya Club. We meet on Wednesday from 6 to 8 p.m. So Kimberly, I will drop my contacts there and you can reach out to me when you come to the city. I'm more than happy to have you join our fellowship.
A comment from Zaf. Jumbo, he says, thank you, Sarah. Great to see your smiling face. Great presentation. Enjoying my cup of tea, of Karicho Gold tea, the best from Kenya.
I think Zaf has frequented Nairobi. Like he's one of those who visited Kenya. And Zaf, I hope you'll visit and go to Mombasa this time around. Good to hear from you, Zaf.
For the others, you can unmute yourself. And if you have any other questions to ask, go ahead and ask your question.
Sarah, you said biryani. Biryani is popular in Kenya?
Yes, biryani is very popular in Kenya. In fact, it's popular in the coastal side of Kenya, Mombasa and the surrounding places. It's really, really nice. It's nice food, yeah. Biryani and samosas. Yeah, they're made in the coast and they're really, really nice. Yeah.
There are a lot of Indians in Kenya, isn't it?
Yes.
A lot of them left in the early 70s. They were made to leave, but there's a large population, Indian population, and that's why Indian food is quite popular.
It is. That's true.
Go ahead, Stuart, ask your question.
Hey, Sarah, good to see you. It was so much fun to visit with you in Brazil.
Yeah.
You might talk about other resorts, if you will, like Nakuru and other places that people don't hear about, smaller places that are very beautiful.
Indeed. Actually, the underrated places in Kenya is Lake Nakuru, Lake Bogoria, Lake Baringo, Lake Turkana, and the Chalbi Desert. Those are the 5 underrated places in Kenya to visit. And they are really, really beautiful. Yeah.
Go ahead, Subir.
So my question is Zanzibar part of Kenya or is it Tanzania?
Tanzania, it's part of Tanzania.
And I'm assuming it'll still be closer to Mombasa?
Yes, actually, from Mombasa, you can easily drive to Dar es Salaam and take a ferry to Zanzibar. Yeah, it's very near. Very near. Yeah.
Does anybody have any other questions?
I have another one. How long is the train ride from Mombasa to Nairobi?
4 hours.
4 hours.
Yes, 4 hours. So there's an express one, and then there's an inter-county one that stops in between. The morning one is an inter-county. That one takes around 5 hours, but the express one that goes at 3 p.m. and the one at night, it's 4 hours. Yeah.
And even the driving is about 4 hours, isn't it? 3.5 to 4 hours.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Yes.
An interesting fact about the railroad from Nairobi to Mombasa, it was built by Indian workers, and halfway between Nairobi and Mombasa, there's a place called Makindu, and there's the largest Sikh temple in Makindu, which is very popular all over Africa. And people come from all over Africa to offer prayers in that temple. And when we drove from Nairobi to Mombasa, we stayed there for one night, and the accommodations were quite luxurious, and it's all free of charge. And you can eat and rest there for free.
Wow.
Yeah, just an interesting fact.
I have a question about the physical. My husband has some back issues, and so we've hesitated to come to Africa to do a safari because of riding on jeeps, I understand, or something People have said it's a real physical experience. Is that true? From those of you who have gone, or from you, Sarah, that are aware of that? If you have back issues, to be very careful.
Yeah, so it's actually true because if you're going to visit a park, then driving for someone who has physical challenges, I wouldn't encourage because they're quite far from the city. But however, you could fly into Nairobi and also fly into those parks, especially Tsavo, Amboseli, and Masai Mara. They have very good airstrips. So you could easily fly into that. But however, moving within the national park, of course, you have to use a jeep, which may not be very comfortable, but for a short distance, I think you'd be able to move around. As long as you're not stretching by being driven for that almost, because sometimes the drive may be around 4 or 5 hours, and some of the roads are not very, very good. Yeah, so long distance, I would discourage that, but flying into and then just do short trips within the park, that is okay.
Thank you.
As our driver put it to us, we are getting free African massages all the way through. Go ahead, Kimberly, with your question.
So Sarah, just so you know, I put my email in the chat, and if you want to take that, then you and I can communicate offline. Because I'm really looking forward to coming back. I hope I don't get sick again like I did, but the dawa was great.
I've taken notes. Happy to connect with you in June. And look forward to seeing you.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah.
Well, if we don't have any further questions, our next step is we will go into, well, we have 20, well, at one point we had 20, I think we have, yeah, if we could maybe break into, have a little break room session for about 5 to 7 minutes. Siva will divide us into a group of 4 or 5, and we can then get to connect with each other and talk a little more. And we hope that it wouldn't be the committee altogether. But if you are not happy with the little break room you end up, you can always return to the main room and switch groups. So we'll do that for the next 4 or 5 minutes, but 5 to 7 minutes, and then we will return to the main room, and we will conclude the meeting with some announcements, and look forward to seeing you on the return. So Siva?
Just before you do
Yes.
the breakout room, Siva, there was another comment in the chat by Vicky saying, hopefully ITHF can organize a tour to Kenya and Sarah can be the organizer.
Happy to.
Job, Sarah. You got a new job?
Yes, happy to.
Would be wonderful.
Yeah. Well,
yes, and I can take you and you can see the athletes running and practicing at 5 a.m. in the morning.
and Simi can bring it up to the
Temple, yeah.
travel committee.
And Kimberly. Kimberly is also on the tour committee.
Quiet, Simi, quiet.
Oh, Kimberly, I didn't see you there, Kimberly. Yes, the two of you can bring it up to the committee. Okay, Siva, let's do that.
Yeah, here we go.
Let's do the break rooms.
Breakout rooms. Okay. I guess I made 4 rooms, so maybe 5 people in each room. Create. Okay. Open all rooms.